Hello and welcome to the Sun Racing preview of the final day, the fourth day of the Cheltenham Festival in association with Betway. I'm Tom Bull and I'm delighted to be joined by Steve Mullin, aka Templegate, and Chad Yeomans from Betway to discuss the big one, the Gold Cup. It's the race that everyone talks about and it looks an absolute cracker this year with Album Photo returning to try and defend his crown. But first up, we're going to talk about the Triumph Hurdle, which looks one of the races of the meeting this year with the likes of All Mankind, Goshen, Aspire, Tower, Solo all taking part. It really is a cracking race in prospect. Chad, I'm going to come to you first this time. Of the four, who takes your eye the most, and is there anything else that takes your eye as well?
I wasn't overly impressed with Solo.
Okay.
I think he won well, and I think he'd be a lovely horse. I don't think he's 157 rated.
I agree.
I think I don't know. I wasn't excited as other people, but I think he would be a lovely horse. Goshen, it just doesn't appeal to me whatsoever. All Mankind doesn't appeal to me.
Is that just because they're too free going, or
they just don't seem like the best horses there are? And with every run, they've won well, but they seem like they run their best, and that's what their level is. Okay. They're not going to improve again to go in Grade 1.
Fair enough. That's fair enough.
And to me, this race is set up for a massive young improver, and Mick Pastor. For Paul Nicholls, I think he's could be a major improver.
Is he definitely going to go here, do you know?
Well, he could go to the Boodles on Wednesday. We're still unsure about where he's...
He does like him, though, so it would imply that he wants to go for the Triumph.
Yeah, I think that when whoever gets ran in that first Triumph trial in November at Cheltenham, you always find one of those will come out and either get placed in a Triumph because it is usually a leading hope from either Paul Nicholls or Nicky Henderson. But the one I also liked, which I mentioned in yesterday's video for the mares, Hook Up, if she comes here, I think she's got an absolutely outstanding chance in the same mould as Let's Dance, who was placed in this a few years back.
Of course, yeah. Okay, great stuff. Templegate, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting what you say about an improver. I suppose you could say that would be Solo maybe, but I think people are getting a little bit carried away. Goshen, again, very good, but I think jumped a bit to the right at Ascot and Sandown, but still managed to win.
He's got a mind of his own, but he's got bags of talent.
Yeah, could be like one of those horses that just keeps improving, and he obviously will, but would it be enough? Again, Aspire Tower I liked before the fall last time.
Not great to come to the festival after.
No, that's a worry, and possibly beaten at the time, I don't know. I hear what you're saying about All Mankind, but I just think if it's still a little bit soft, I mean, maybe by the end of the meeting, the ground's going to be better, but I do think the form from Chepstow and having run well here before, the only thing that's the slight worry is likes to be up at the pace, and you would think in the Triumph Hurdle things do tend to come and do it late. But I just think it's fairly solid, and something could easily come out of the pack. But from what I've seen, I think All Mankind's all right, especially if there's a bit of dig in it still.
Great. Well, of the four, I think Aspire Tower is the one to beat, just because I think he's got the best form. I think he would have won that Grade 1 last time I hadn't fallen, and I think he's going to be the one to beat here for Henry Drumhead and Richard Blackwell once again. All Mankind, I think the beating of Cerberus is strong. I do think Cerberus is a good horse. Whether or not it's quite as good as Aspire Tower's form is up for debate, in my opinion. I also think All Mankind will be taken off the lead, possibly, which is something you just don't want, as you said earlier. Goshen could be anything, but he's not beaten much. That's the problem. I mean, the horses that he's thrashed aren't very good horses until he does it in Grade 1 company. You can't really say he's going to win this, can you? And Solo, again, I agree with you, shouldn't nearly be anywhere near his rating. I mean, I think the horse he beat, Fujimoto Flower, is probably a handicapper. And I mean, he's thrashed her, but
I think Solo will get to that rating.
No, potentially. I think he's more.
That's not a dig at Solo. I just think any horse that has one run shouldn't be given a rating of 157 in general.
No, it's fair enough.
It doesn't really matter in this race.
No, exactly. Yeah, and I mean, to be my opinion, he's going to be much more of a chaser, and that's what his trainers say. But of the others, actually, I think Away with the Sea deserves a mention for winning that Grade 1 last time. Stayed on very strongly at the line, which is going to help him at Cheltenham. And won a massive prize. I mean, a massive prize. I'm just going to put forward. This pronunciation is going to be appalling. It's Gaelic, but it's Ligan Gaelige or Gaelige. Or Gaegli, I don't know. Anyway, he won on debut last time at 50 to 1, I think, beating a huge maiden hurdle field, and he won quite nicely, snugly. It runs in the colours of Jim Bolger's horses.
Yes, I do know who you're about.
I can't exactly. Trainers completely slipped my mind for the time being, but might be Brendan Duke, not Brendan Duke, but someone like that. Anyway, I think he's going to run a big race if he turns up.
It's a kind of year where you'll get a horse like that who will absolutely bolter.
Could just pop in.
Just someone unexposed we don't know too much about.
He's had one run. I mean,
the commentator will hope he's not running.
No, absolutely. But I think that's a bit risky, so I'm going to stick with Aspire Tower. But look out for that horse each way. Templegate?
All Mankind, not overly confident.
And Chad?
And if the filly hookup runs, I'd be quite confident on her.
Okay, great. On now to the Albert Bartlett. It always takes a very strong staying performance in this race over 3 miles for the novice hurdlers, and it's always very exciting as well because it usually gives us a very nice finish at the end of it. Time Hill being favourite here for Philip Hobbs after winning the Challow Hurdle earlier in the season. He's done nothing wrong. He's won at Cheltenham. Has got a massive chance if bringing his A game alongside Monkfish for Willie Mullins and Rich Ritchie, who's won very well twice in novice company recently. Latest Exhibition, who was already a Grade 1 winner. Great to see Paul Nolan back with a kind of star once again. Harry Senior, Ramses to tie, and Lieutenant Rocco are the other kind of main principals. Chad, of all those, who takes your eye the most? Or is there something else?
Longhouse Poet.
There you go,
Longhouse Poet, Longhouse Poet takes my eye.
Martin Brassel.
Martin, absolutely. Trains the winner of the Ballymore last year for the same owners, Sean and Bernadette Moore Ryan, who own Ballymore. So they want a winner at this festival. They sponsor on the Wednesday. They want a big winner, and I just think this year this could be their winner. He is steadily improving over 2.5 miles, and I think he wants 3 miles now. He was third in the Grade 1 at the Dublin Racing Festival, and before that he was third behind Envoy LN. So he's not like he's been running in poor races, he's been running in good races, and perhaps just been running as a slower horse who wants to step up in trip against horses who are in their prime over 2 and 2.5. And I just think that some of them at the top of the betting, some of them at the head of the list, have just got major holes in. Monkfish was beaten on his first few runs, and he's won a couple of trappy races since. And I just think this is probably got some of the best form in the race. I was at the Tizards last week, and you mentioned Lieutenant Rocco and Harry Senior. He'd mentioned that when Puppy Power was riding Lieutenant Rocco over the last, despite the fact the race was won last time, he did give him a kick in the belly and wanted to see what he had left. So in terms of riding plans, I think he wanted to see
who he was going
to ride, and how quick he was. And there was a bit of a glint in Joe Tizard's eye about Lieutenant Rocco.
And he was very impressive at Warwick.
Yeah, he was registered with Paul Nicholls.
Really?
After winning 2 points with Paul Nicholls, never got to run and got moved to the Tizards and has won 2 out of 2, and is now going to an Albert Bartlett with potentially Puppy Power on if he doesn't ride the other horse.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see who he does choose. Definitely. What about you, Templegate?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to find holes in Time Hill, and I'm not finding it that easy.
Yep.
I mean, it's got the good Cheltenham form. The tail flashing has put some people off, but it didn't seem to make any difference.
Fair enough.
Big occasion, that'll be the thing for me.
Well, yeah, maybe that's it. I mean, Ramses to Tay as well. I mean, if the race last time didn't take too much out of him, I think it's got.
Well, he seems to love it, doesn't he?
Yeah,
he loves a slog.
Absolutely, and good form at Cheltenham as well. So could hit the frame as well.
No, I really agree with that. I really like Ramses to Tay just because I love horses who try their hearts out. This race surely is going to suit him because he just goes from the front. He just loves it. Like Minella Indo won last year from the front.
It suits chasers who come back over hurdles. Didn't Alan King win it with Nebuchadnezzar or something?
Oh, Nenufalcalange. Yeah.
A few years ago, and it's similar mould. Similar mould.
Yeah, no, it's a good point.
Clearly in good form.
Yeah, he really is. Yeah. For me, I think Time Hill's the banker of the meeting. Gone out and said it. I just think because he's Grade 1 winner. The horses he's beaten, the Cashel Man, I know he got beaten odds on last time, but that wasn't his true running. He's a good horse. He's won at Cheltenham. I think this 3 miles is going to suit him. He's got a lot of speed, which people don't seem to think about. He actually does. If you watch the way he quickened between the last 2 in the Challow, it was actually quite impressive. And I know that Philip Hobbs thinks a lot of him. And I just think, obviously being third in the Champion Bumper a couple of years back, or last year, that shows he's got enough speed for this. I know you need to stay too, but I think there's no problem in that regard. And I've been very impressed with him so far. So for me, he can get the better of some Irish raiders that aren't that strong. I mean, latest Exhibition. Won a Grade 1 last time out, and he beat Andy Dufresne, but I mean that's not form for me that's good enough to win a race like this. And Monkfish, as you say, trappy races. I mean, he's not beaten anything. No. He's done it impressively, but for me, he's a chaser in the making. He's a great big horse, quite leggy, and still quite raw. Harry Senior, I fear. I thought he was very impressive in that Grade 2 last time out at Cheltenham. I know that Colin Tizard likes him a lot, as he also likes Lieutenant Rocco, apparently. But either one of those, I'd probably fear the other English raiders more than the Irish guys. This year, and Ramses the Tide too. I'd fear him. It's a shame that Deal Kerr is unlikely to run in this, apparently, because he did thrash Monkfish when he raced against him earlier in the season. Time Hill for me, I think he's the banker.
Time Hill for the win, Ramses the Tide for the place.
Lieutenant Rocco.
Great. On to the headline event of the week. It is the Cheltenham Gold Cup, always an absolute thriller, as it was last year when Album Photo almost strolled to victory. He's back in it again after another nice win at Tremor earlier in the season, and he's likely to take an awful lot of beating for Willie Mullins. Willie Mullins, of course, who also has Kenboy in the race after finishing second to Delta Work last time out. Another horse who is taking up his entry in this. Lost in Translation for Colin Tizard, having won the Betfair Chase earlier in the season. Nothing quite went right for him in the King George, but he's probably going to be back to his best at a slightly more suitable track. Clandazobo, very impressive winner of the King George. Whether or not he'll quite get home because he didn't last year in the Gold Cup is up for debate. And presenting Percy, Bristol de Mai and Monolly, a few old favourites to finish off the field. Templegate, obviously a cracking race as always. Yeah. Who's your money on this time?
Well, I can't see why Album Photo won't repeat last year because the race doesn't look any tougher.
I agree.
He's still only 8. Willie Mullins has campaigned him in very similar way. The ground, it will be fine however it comes up really. And the opposition, there's quite big holes in pretty much all of them. I mean, you're looking at Santini, which, yeah, decent, but you wouldn't think Gold Cup winner, not to me anyway.
It amazes me how much money there's been for him.
Yeah, I think maybe it's because there just isn't an awful lot else.
And the rain maybe as well?
Yeah,
I don't
possibly.
know.
And then the only thing you could see happen is maybe Lost in Translation. If you went back 6-7 months, many people thought this was a real Gold Cup horse and wouldn't be the first one not to like the King George and come out and run well in the Gold Cup. So I'm happy with Album Photo, and I think Lost in Translation is possibly the danger.
Okay, Chad?
I think if you take away the prestige of the Gold Cup and you looked at this as a normal race, you'd fancy Album Photo all day long.
Surely, yeah.
And just because you talk about how hard it is to win the Gold Cup twice, that you kind of puts you off it. But actually, when you think of what actually is and what the horses are up against, Kenboy needs to improve. Presenting Percy's been there and wasn't good enough. Delta Work probably isn't good enough at this. I think he probably wants further as well.
Delta Work's not good enough. It's strong from you.
Yeah, I'm not a major fan of Delta Work. I think if top of the game, who beat him, both him and Santini, was fit and ran this season, I think he'd be miles clear of the two of them. I really do. I think he's just a much bigger and better horse. There's nothing I don't like about Album Photo.
No,
he hasn't raced in. I mean, if you look at Lost in Translation. Won the Charlie Hall, is that right? No, won the what was the race?
Well, won the Betfair Chase.
Won the Betfair Chase, and won. What did he win before?
Won at Carlisle.
The Carlisle, yeah, of course it did. But he had a tough race, didn't he, in that Betfair Chase, and that just took it out of him. Whereas Album Photo hasn't had any of those tough races.
No, well, Lost in Translation's had a break, I suppose. So hopefully, but even on class level, he'd have to be improving.
He'd have to step up again and again.
And I mean, Willie Mullins, without talking about him all the time, because he's an unbelievable trainer.
61 winners at the festival, and you can't do that by being bang average. No. And if you think Paul Nicholls, I think he's been 11-time champion trainer in this country. I think he's trained 45 winners, and that's the gulf between.
It shows you, doesn't it?
Yeah. Willie Mullins and Paul Nicholls. I'm not saying in general. Because Paul Nicholls is still amazing, but to get horses to that level and to have the horses that do it is phenomenal.
Yeah, completely agree.
And I think Album Photo will take a hell of a lot of beating. I do think Paul Nicholls' Clandazobo will run better than he did last year. I think he's improved again. I really think he's improved. And I was at Ditchy a couple of weeks ago and saw him, and he looked unbelievable. He just looked just strong and just unbelievable. He really did take my eye, and I thought he looked so fit and well that I bet they wish the Gold Cup was now.
Yeah. Fair enough. Well, good to hear that from Ditchy. I think Album Photo is the one as well. So all of us in the Album Photo fan club, another fan club. No, look, I mean, I just thought he was so impressive in the race last year. I mean, he really did win very easily, didn't he? I mean, he beat Bristol de Mai if he wasn't there, and I just think even that Horlicks he made at the second last didn't matter at all. He's still straight on a hill. Like, if ever there was a race made for a horse, it's this. It really is. And I actually thought he was quite impressive at Tremor, more so than last year this year. And I can see him, winning this and winning it very well indeed. I mean, the one I fear, I have to say, I'm going to go against you slightly here, is Delta Work.
You do?
I do, just because it's weird. Last year I thought he didn't stay strongly enough. Yeah. In the RSA, he travelled really well, maybe too well, and didn't get home quite to the principal's top of the game in Santini. Whereas this year, he's come both times he's won at Leopardstown, he's come flying from the rear, staying on, got up on the line. So for me, if he is staying on after the last, I would fear him. Another one to mention that we haven't mentioned, I really like Monolly each way.
You do?
I think he's improved this year, and Henry de Bromhead says that he's going to run well. I've tipped a lot of the Henry de Bromhead horses over the last 4 panels. But yeah, I just think this horse, I know he's not quite a 3 mile, 2.5 horse. He's possibly not even quite a 3 mile horse, but if he travels into it and doesn't do too much early on, and he's there after the kind of second last, I could see him getting a place, Monolly. But for me, it is Album Photo all day long. I completely agree with you. He's just a class act. Willie Mullins a class act. Paul Tannen's a class act. 3 class acts. Where can you go wrong with that? So for me, Album Photo. For you, Album Photo. And for Chad, Album Photo. Each way, Monolly. And each way for you?
Well, lost in translation, not really an each way price, but I fancy him for the frame.
Great, and Chad?
I think Clanderzoba will get in the frame.
Lovely. Excellent. It's time for the Foxhunters now, one of my favourite races of the meeting. It always gives the amateur riders a chance to show what they can do. Last year's winner, Hazel Hill, heads the market again after, just finding Manila Rocco too strong, who also lines up this year. Staker Wallace in the McManus colours as well has got a chance, as has Billaway, who beat him earlier in the season. Shantou Fly was a very easy winner at Fakenham last time out, and has also got a chance. And some old favourites as well. Bob & Co, Cade de Burle, Alcala, and good old Don Poli could line up, which would be great to see, wouldn't it? Chad, come to you first. Any thoughts on this in particular?
I've not looked at this massively in depth, but the word coming out of Ireland is that Staker Wallace is improving at a rate of knots.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And we've seen plenty of support recently.
Okay.
In the build up to the last.
When I looked at it for the first time, I was surprised to see how far up the market he was.
He's so lightly raced for a 9-year-old, but that might not necessarily be a bad thing.
Yeah,
I think J. McManus holds all the aces because he's got Manila Rocco, who placed in a Gold Cup. Now he's come back in turn to chase. He's come down a gear. They're not going as quick. We're seeing how good he maybe is, and I think we could at the end of the race look back and go, I can't believe we didn't look at this as about absolute certainty. He was placed in the Gold Cup. If we're looking at, I like Cade de Burle because I think I like winning pointers, and Cade de Burle's gone off and won for Rose Loxton a few points, and I like it when they've got their confidence through winning in points, and they come here full of confidence. But I mean, Manila Rocco was probably 2 stone better than Cade de Burle on their best days. And
yeah.
So I just think we could look back and say, I can't believe we all overlooked Manila Rocco.
Of course, you've got to admit that he's not the force that he once was. I mean, obviously beating Hazel Hill, just beating him at Warwick is not Grade 1 form, but at the same time, he has beaten the favourite, hasn't he?
So much ability.
He has got so much ability. He never quite really fulfilled that, really. I mean, obviously, his second in the Gold Cup, good. But, I mean, people are always saying he's going to win one, wasn't he? Great. Templegate?
Another race to watch, the jockeys. Obviously, Derek O'Connor's going to be on Manila Rocco, I assume.
I'd assume.
Alex Edwards is another great top jockey as
well. Really good.
Hazel Hill has got a massive stat for it that this is probably the best race, maybe other than the 3 mile, for coming back and winning it again at the meeting. 3 of the last 4 winners have followed up. Connection said the horse wasn't quite right last time when Manila Rocco just beat him, and if that's true, it was a good run.
Gave him £4 as well.
Yeah, gave him weight, and I just think the defending champion will go very close again.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think Hazel Hill's the one to beat. Actually, he did it really easily last year, didn't he? Alex Edwards, an absolute class act in the saddle. We know he's going to ride him again. He's been riding him ever since, provided nothing goes wrong. Shanty Flyer, a nice easy winner at Fakenham last time. That came second in the race last year. Yeah. Can't forget him. He's also got great Cheltenham
Good Cheltenham form.
Yeah, there you go. Always helps, doesn't it? Yeah. I would love to see Don Poli win a big race. It would just be great to see, wouldn't it? Everyone would love that.
Imagine him and Faheen all win this.
Oh, God, imagine. And then lastly, I'd love to get a little word out for Top Wood, who just tries his heart out every time he runs. Yeah. And run a huge race last year.
Billaway as well.
Billaway, indeed, for William Mullins again. Thoughts on that, Templegate?
Well, it comes from Willie Mullins.
That's all you need to know.
Paddy's probably going to be on it, so what more needs to be said, really?
Absolutely. And he also beat Staker Wallace, didn't he?
It did. That was coming back from, was it 3 years off?
Yeah, I mean,
fair enough.
You can't really yeah. But Hazel Hill for me.
Hazel Hill for me.
Manila Rocco and Cade de Burle each way.
Great. That is the Foxhunters. Obviously, Friday is known for Gold Cup Day, but there are also some cracking handicaps on the card throughout the afternoon, and the County Hurdle is very much one of those. Adjali, Ciel de Neige, Mahayed, Fusel Raffles, Janil, Black Tears, and Eldorado Allen up there at the top of the market. Chad, come to you first on this. Anything you particularly like?
One of my strongest fancies of the week, Aramon.
Aramon, tremendous. Another Willie Mullins horse.
Another Willie Mullins horse. Finished 6th behind Classical Dream in the Supreme last year, should I say, and then was narrowly beaten a neck in soft ground by Felix Desgy in the Aintree. 4-year-old hurdle. Yeah. Came out this season, had some time off, was 4th and 5th in the Matheson hurdle behind Sharjah. Jumped really big, was really gassing, clearly needed the run. Then ran against Honeysuckle in the Irish Champion hurdle and absolutely stayed on. Was a huge eye catch for me. rated 147, gets in currently 7th in the list. I just think this horse is a graded horse in a handicap, and this is just tailor-made.
Fantastic. I love that. That's a very confident selection. Templegate?
Yeah, I was very keen on Sheldon Edge last time out at Newbury, and I thought the horse ran really well. Didn't have the greatest of luck through it. I think hopefully he's learned from that. My only slight concern is I think he could end up favourite, and favourites have a bit of a shocking record in this race. But like they say, the horse doesn't know his favourites.
True.
I think he's got the right kind of weight, right age, and should run really well.
Okay, great. Another one to mention is Adjali, who Nicky Henderson put up as the horse to follow for the entire week. So that's an interesting one coming up from a layoff. I like Black Tears in this for Gordon Elliott. I think she is a very, very smart mare. Won a very competitive race at Leopardstown, 4 mares a couple of starts ago before finding El Fiel a bit too hot to handle in graded company. But dropping back to handicap company, I think she's going to be still on a nice mark here. Another one to keep an eye on is Eldorado Allen. An interesting runner of 150 because, I mean, they think he's a very good horse and he was very well fancied to win the Contenders Hurdle at Sandown last time. Couldn't quite manage that, but this is obviously weaker in terms of quality, so hopefully he can run a big race. And Mahayad can't be discounted for Dan Skelton, who has won so many times, this race 3 times now in the last kind of 5 years, I think. He also runs Chitapello more than likely. So keep an eye on both those. But for me, it is Black Tears and Eldorado Allen each way.
Sheldon Edge to win, and if Soviet Pimpernel turns up, I think that could run well as well.
And Chad?
I think Aramon will win, but it's an each way price, so back each way.
Great. We've also got the Grand Annual to talk through. Another 2-mile race here, this time over the fences, Grade 3. The classification of the race. This time, Grenadine is favourite for Paul Nicholls. Lisp for Alan King also up there. Chosen Mate if he does come here rather than elsewhere. Brelan Das and 2 Irish Raiders, Eclair de Beaufort and Paloma Blue also in there alongside 2 Taffs and a few others. Chad, thoughts on this?
Lisp. Really keen on Lisp. I've been following him for the whole season. I actually thought he was a better hurdler than he was given credit for. If you watch him, he's so game and he just tries and tries and tries. And if you want a horse that's going to keep running to the line, this is going to be the one.
Yes.
He's had a few runs over fences, was in the Mr. Fisher Torpedo race first time, then bolted up at Plumpton, and then went to the Doncaster race. And there's probably a race that's probably a little bit too hot for him, I think, which is why he's not going to the Arkle. 2 good horses, though, finish in front of him. Completely, and which is why he's not going to the Arkle. Now he's coming to this handicap. I was at a recent press down, Alan King looked very, very excited and mentioned unaided that he'd already won this race with a novice. That was a clue in itself, I think. So I think he's got a hell of a chance.
Okay, great. Templegate?
Braylon Da, I quite like in this. Keeps running well at Cheltenham. This sort of trip should be fine. Battle hardened, which might help. Slightly creeping up the weights a little bit, but I think was going pretty well in the Caspian Caviar until the untimely error, which didn't help. And obviously Greenatine, I mean, doing so well, hoovering up small races.
Of course, yeah.
Doing it really, really well. It's just whether the hustle and bustle at Cheltenham is a bit much after that, but really, really talented horse.
Remember Mecca Nichols used to do a column for us, and I remember her saying last year that Grenadine, when he'd run over hurdles, was a very smart horse in the making. Yeah. And they were excited about that from an early stage. But not for me at the prices. 2 I like, 2 Irish horses I like, Eclair de Beaufort and Paloma Blue, who both ran in the same race last time out. Eclair de Beaufort came out on top that day, but I think Paloma Blue is going to turn the form around. It's got a nice little swing in the weights, and again, Henry de Bromhead. I think we tipped him in every race nearly.
I think I'm back to Willie Mullins' horse in the race.
No show in last year's Arkle, but this is obviously a different kettle of fish, and hopefully I can see him running a big race. The other one I really, really like, if he comes here, and I just hope he does, is 2 Taffs. Yeah. He might run over the 2 mile 4 elsewhere, but I desperately hope they run him over 2 miles because he travels so well. And I just think the hustle and bustle, the really strong pace they go in the Grand Annual, is going to suit him down to the ground. And he hasn't stayed on up the hill in the past. So dropping back in trip, could just see him come there strongly and actually stay on this time. And he's very well handicapped based on a couple of years back. And I just really fancy him if he gets a run.
He was very good, a very good second behind Tully East.
He was.
The Cloche brothers
2017.
in 2017.
Indeed.
And that was a really eye-catching
It really was, wasn't it? And that was over a bit further.
Yeah.
And I just didn't think he quite got home that day. So maybe dropping back in trip, I just hope Dan Skelton, please run this in the Grand Annual. So 2 Taffs for me and Paloma Blue as well. Templegate?
Braylon Da, and I thought Jan Matt run really well at Punchestown last time and has plenty of staying power that could help the frame.
And Lisp? for me.
Lisp, lovely stuff. Last but not least, the final race on the final day of the Cheltenham Festival is the Martin Pipe for Conditional jockeys. Always a very competitive affair. Column of Fire, front view, and I liked the way you're thinking at the top of the market, alongside Pylon, Downtown Getaway, and Sheldon Edge if he doesn't go to the county hurdle. Templegate going to come to you this time?
Column of Fire, I think, appeals to me.
I think he appeals to everyone.
Yeah, I mean, good run at Leopardstown, and I mean, just looks like tailor-made for this race. Plenty of staying power. I mean, Sheldon Edge is in it as well, but I don't think this trip would suit the horse as well. Again, another one who wouldn't mind it soft, I think, but could probably go on quicker.
Sure.
I also thought Conflated's been running well in some quite hot races. Goes well over this trip as well, but I mean, again, it's a bit. I wouldn't use the word lottery, but it's quite difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. Chad, what about you?
I think those who follow my Betway Insider blog would realise that, or will know that I've put up Column of Fire, I think in November or December, a long time ago. I think he's been mapped out for the race.
Yeah, you must be pretty happy now, yeah.
Gordon Elliott loves mapping horses out for this race because obviously he used to work for Martin Pipe, and it's just a thing. And trainers and owners are creatures of habit. And last year's winning connections, Joseph O'Brien and J. McManus, won it with Early Doors. It seems that they've mapped out front view for this. We're second behind Envoy LN, which might work out to be look sublime for him, mightn't it? He then won a maiden hurdle at Cork, and then he had 2 months off, or just over 2 months off, and ran behind 5 O'Clock, who's a very race fit horse for Willie Mullins, who I was told at the start of the season was a very, very sharp horse. So he met trouble that day. He met the last all wrong as well, and nearly came down, and still managed to stay on. And I just think they're going to book young John Joe, and I can't split the two of them at the moment, but I think I've given the 1-2 there. Column of Fire in front of you.
I have to say they've both got massive chances. I completely agree. They both look extremely well handicapped, and they're both going to be ridden by very good riders. So, you know, I mean, what's not to like? I'm going to put up a couple of horses. I hope Downtown Getaway gets in. This is a problem because he's 68 at the moment. He needs a lot of horses to come out above him, but that could happen. And a wind up after last time has clearly done him wonders because he stayed on really nicely at the line at Kempton. Looked in trouble at one stage, but found a bit more in the closing stages. And he's still got a lot more to come for Nicky Henderson, I'm sure. Another one I like to put up is Champagne Well. This horse has had a few starts over further than this, but I think this drop back in trip is going to help him. Actually, his best form has come over this trip, so I'm expecting him to go well at Cheltenham because he loves it here. And lastly, Flash the Steel, depending on where he goes. But I know we talked about all this off air. The form of his Silver Trophy win has worked out outrageously well.
The best race of the season in terms of
completely
horses coming out and winning.
Yeah, definitely. And you've got to give him a chance of his current mark. I know he didn't run very well last time, but it doesn't matter. I mean, I'm sure he
horses
can lay down.
Can bounce.
Exactly. Yeah. So those are my three: Downtown Getaway if he gets in, Champagne Well, and Flash the Steel.
Column of Fire, and I'd also give a word for Fakir, who's also in the JP team, and could run well as well.
Great, and Chad?
Column of Fire and front view will both win. That's how confident I am about the both.
Dead heat. There you go. Indeed. Finally now onto Betway's fantastic game, 4 to win. It's a free-to-play for everyone with an increased jackpot this year, £50,000. That's 50k each day, including on the Friday. All you have to do is select 4 horses in the 4 given races on the Friday. First up, we're going to go with Aramon in the County Hurdle, then Album Photo in the Gold Cup, Brelon Das in the Grand Annual, and finally in the Martin Pipe, Column of Fire. So hopefully there are 4 winners there for you to help you on your way to £50,000. That's it from us. It's been a fantastic 4 days. Hopefully we found you some winners. Best of luck, and we'll see you on a preview panel very soon.